Ananta and Plagiarism. But first things first, I need you to know that I am the original Ananta Glazer. I love Ananta, and despite everything I say in this video, I'll play day one. I might even spend some money on it. Probably more than I should. These are things I've already decided after what I've seen so far in gameplay and trailers, and just like nothing is gonna dissuade me from any of it, I am not here to dissuade you from liking this game. Honestly, if anything, I might end up defending it by the end given how good it looks. I also need you to know that over the course of the video, for simplicity's sake, I will simply refer to it as plagiarism or borrowing, not getting inspired by or even theft and stealing on the more negative side of the spectrum. I will use some of these words, and I'm quite aware that Sony, yes, is promoting Ananta on their socials, which introduces the idea that Naked Rain may have at least done some of this with Sony's blessing. Despite that, for conversation's sake, I'll often call it plagiarism as shorthand for strong, near-identical borrowing. I'm using that term as a critique of creativity rather than as a legal claim, because to me this is less of a discussion on the legality of it and more of a question on innovation, inspiration, and what we generally allow as a standard in the gaming sphere. You are more than welcome to phrase it better in the comments depending on how you feel about it. With all that said, let's begin with what exactly is being alleged or has been established. The game, in the simplest sense, has borrowed so much from other games. This ranges from traversal mechanics to combat animations, execution of character switching systems, story cinematics and set pieces, general gameplay aesthetics and mechanics, and so much more from a very diverse set of video games from different genres. If imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Ananta is full-on simp. Now, we are yet to truly establish just how well all these borrowed systems and elements can work together. We are yet to establish if it's gonna be a bad thing for the game, and I, for one, wanna make it very clear that I want this game to beautifully combine all these things into one cohesive package. It is this as the backdrop that I can properly establish my personal opinion on it. I think Naked Rain has gone out of its way to specifically borrow these elements for their game. Not getting inspiration. I'm talking about going out of your way to borrow elements from other known sources. I've been following this game for quite a while now, and we see this firsthand by looking into seemingly simple and small changes the game went through over time. Let's highlight one for reference sake. In Ananta's previous trailers, including the one that came out last year and inspired me to make my first Ananta video, we can still see that the Spider-Man-esque traversal system is present. It doesn't take a genius to tell that the animations almost match the first Spider-Man game one-to-one. That's not what I'm going for though. Let's look a bit closer at said traversal animations, particularly how the character grapples. The grappling web in initial versions of the game seems thin with somewhat of a glow to it. At this point in the game's development, I could go as far as saying that this passes as a technology-based grappling hook, or even maybe an Esper's manifestation of it, given as far as I've understood it, all these characters are Espers. In the recent trailers and gameplay, however, we can observe that the same Spider-Man animations, yes, are there, but the nature of the grapple, if we can even call it that at this point, has drastically changed. Where it was thin and luminous before, now it's thick with at least 3 strands interwoven into each other. It's oily black and it morphs around in shape. It's the Spider-Man 2 Venom web. It's the Spider-Man 2 Venom web. These guys had already taken so much inspiration from one aspect of a specific game. Despite that, it was still in a state where one could have this element make sense in the context of the world they were building. But that wasn't quite enough for them, was it? So they went out of their way to borrow the exact same aesthetic from the second entry of the game they originally stole from. And to the detriment of the game, in my opinion, because how the hell are they gonna make this symbiotic Venom goof make any sense for this character? I'm actually quite excited to see how they're gonna explain that. Oh, and the poor devs. Do you know how hard it is to come up with original ideas that just work, even if it's the simple ones? So does Naked Rain. To say any of this is a result of the devs of Ananta being inspired by so-and-so game is plain bastardization of the word inspiration. I mean, some people will pick a few notes here and there, but Ananta just grabs the whole damn notebook. I've seen some people on Twitter and YouTube especially religiously defend this as a good thing, and I just can't wrap my head around it. Mind you, I don't want Naked Rain to face any legal trouble for any of this. Like I say, this video is not on the legality of it, but what we as consumers should set as a standard when it comes to what we deem acceptable. I'm simply coming from a position where I feel that the game at release could have been better off incorporating original elements instead of borrowing 100% in some specific aspects like the Venom one I just pointed out. I saw no reason why so many people would support this kind of blatant cloning. And I'm not talking about support for the game, I'm talking about support for the game actively stealing concepts. I did a little research, so let's look at why people are defending any of this. Number one, there's the argument that everything has to have drawn inspiration from somewhere. Many will argue that all games borrow from others and no game exists in a vacuum, which is true. Mechanics like climbing, swinging, and driving cars in an urban open world, for an example, all these have precedence, and it's true that Ananta is just piecing those bits together in its own way. Given how they've done it though, the question of where exactly we draw the line when it comes to this arises. I've come to believe that this game somewhat gets a pass in most people's eyes simply because it borrows so much from so many different games that this blend is in a much better spot to be considered acceptable. Every game borrows from something, sure, but not every game raids the entire industry like it's on a supermarket sweep. Quite recently, we had this one game from Tencent, Light of Motion or Motiram or something of the sort. The game in essence was a Horizon ripoff. The game's art style, setting, and even protagonist was so similar to Horizon that the same Sony that appears to be endorsing Ananta saw it as a blatant copy that violates their IP rights and sued. Now, I'm not saying what Naked Rain has done with Ananta is anything close to what Tencent did with this game, but we have seen that Ananta has copied elements exactly as they are from their original games into their game. Does this pass and the other doesn't simply because of the scope and execution of the plagiarism at hand? Number two, people simply feel it's legal. I for one feel it's legal, especially with Sony backing the game in terms of promotion. Even with that fact aside, trademarks, patents, and copyrights have limits. Unless you've literally reused assets or broken IP law or something, things should run smoothly. But I need to add that just because something is legal doesn't mean it's gonna be a net positive in the grand scheme of things, whether it's for the game itself or the industry standard. I'll get to that later. Number three, Nintendo. If you need me to explain why the hate for this company and their IP lawsuits would fuel people excusing what Ananta is doing, then you might be existing in a very healthy corner of the internet, and I don't intend to be the one to pull you out of it. Number four, this is a good game, and that, in essence, earns it and Naked Rain good PR. Simple as that. People will overlook all of this simply because this is a good game in every shape and form. We initially had our doubts when it just had the trailers, but we've confirmed with recent gameplay trailers and hands-on experience from those at Tokyo Game Show that this is in fact a real game and it wasn't over-promising or selling us lies to get us hooked. If a game looks good, has polished traversal, feels big, delivers fun, loaded experiences, then considering whether or not they borrowed some stuff for it is secondary. As long as the core gameplay is good, maybe originality isn't a conversation worth having for many. Now, imagine if a game from a not so celebrated, established AAA developer did the same. Imagine if any other developer did the same, but for a game that doesn't look as promising as Ananta. With all that said, especially after I've established some valid reasons why a lot of people may be against condemning such plagiarism, why do I still insist that this may be a bad thing? The true question, in my opinion, is there really anything to lose if we keep backing this without critique? I'll start with the obvious negative effects of endorsing this. Legally, at least on Sony's side of things, given you can't really speak for the other studios that have been blatantly stolen from, legally, Ananta should be fine. But the mere existence of this game, which has borrowed so much from other creative works, for some of these cases, rehashing them almost exactly as they were, and not only using these elements for their marketing material, but also inevitably making profit because of it when it launches, may nudge major companies into being way more aggressive in patenting generic elements in their product. These companies will feel the need to legally protect aspects in their game that initially they would have never thought twice about protecting. And given this is simply fueled by the need to make money and keep making money, it is bound to be wrongfully exploited and perverted. IP creep and abuse of patents and the copyright system could be something that pops up from way more companies than just the usual suspects. As more of this happens, innovation can and will be stifled because to avoid lawsuits, game studios and developers will play it safe, avoiding anything that looks too similar to another. They won't innovate if their concepts feel derivative, even if they can build upon existing ideas. The margin for creative risk will generally shrink. And yes, I definitely feel that this one game could lead to all of this. History has shown that much more has been started by far less. Worst case scenario, we have situations like the Nemesis system, where it was patented, meaning anything like it cannot be made without legal trouble, but the studio that made it dies without the patent dying with it, because Warner Bros. Games, the parent company, holds the patent, not Monolith Productions. So you have a situation where no one can develop further or even use the system, and consumers can't play it further as well. Everyone loses. Now imagine that, but on a much smaller scale, because we can at least say the Nemesis system is a large, complex and dynamic mechanic that, as much as we can all agree that patenting it choked off innovation, if there's anything you have to patent in your game, it should at least be something like this. Imagine that, but smaller in scope and unreasonably petty, like jiggle physics or something. Imagine if the first guys that made this were like, nah, no one else should use this but us. So you're like out here making art with a game and you get notified that you've been sued for infringing a patent or something for, I don't know, real-time fat gravitational displacement or something. And it's like a whole legal team just for jiggle physics. You get me though, there's a chance things could go very wrong in this regard. I'm more inclined to believe it is more likely that more companies like Nintendo will spring up if this kind of blatant, uncriticized copying happens and becomes a standard, as opposed to underdog companies like Pocket Pair rising up that yes, are derivative with their ideas, but also imbue these ideas with their own originality that creates something that, despite being similar, stands on its own 2 feet without elements, animations, or mechanics being borrowed exactly as they are in their original media. Secondly, there's a threat of the game lacking any sense of true identity. You might already know where I'm going with this, and now we're venturing into territory that's a bit up in the air given the game is not out yet. This might end up not being a concern at all, and I hope it won't ever be, but I'm coming from the fact that now that we've seen even more of the game, we know that Ananta is massive in scope. If they wanted to, they could have easily done more to inject unique elements and mechanics that, even with them drawing inspiration elsewhere, these elements could have had all the makings of something original, something that's tailored to the world, lore and characters they've created and serves to improve immersion for everyone who picks up the game. This one move could very easily have been anything else given how fleshed out so much of the game is. These are Espas, for Christ's sake. Having them slam enemies down with a telekinetic ability instead would have been so much better. I personally can't see myself doing this one attack in the game without thinking about Spider-Man. In a broader sense, if the game comes out and insists on leaning too heavily on elements from other games that maybe won't fit as well in what they're creating, it might never find its own voice and not resonate properly with players long term. People are excited right now. Heck, I'm excited. I was among the first to be excited, but first impressions fade. And if the core of this game is functional, pretty, but feels derivative with soullessly cloned elements that don't blend well with the world they're creating and trying to build, I fear I will personally struggle to latch onto it. I had a whole section on nuances and counterarguments, if I can call them that could frame this as less of a black and white situation, with points like polishing the game could change things. Maybe they might make a few creative changes that would add that sense of originality to elements they borrowed. Trailers and pre-release showcases, as we all know, tend to be very flashy. They tend to display spectacle that might not accurately represent the rest of the game. The game on release might deliver more original feeling content, if I can put it that way. There's also cultural and regional perspectives. Naked Rain is a Chinese company. The market this company exists in has different standards and expectations. There's a higher tolerance in East Asian countries for this kind of borrowing compared to the rest of the world. I didn't really feel though like going deep into these points would really paint a clearer picture of my main issue and worry with plagiarism in this game. Look, I know I've sounded like I've just given a TED talk about stolen animations and so on, but it's only because I care. I genuinely want this game to succeed. I want it to have a soul. I plan on making this my main game, and at this point in time I'm somewhat more excited for it than GTA 6. I think it has tremendous promise, but to reach its true potential, it needs to stand on its own shoulders. And I feel some of these design and aesthetic decisions take more from the game than they add to it. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Feel free to share yours in the comment section. Like the video if you felt it was a good one. Subscribe for more Ananta content and so much more. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.